Yo, what's up guys, welcome back. Next match, Cross-Banlist Cup. So second match, Group A. We have a new deck in the Cross-Banlist Cup series being Psychic OTK. This is the OG Mind Master OTK that I personally never played back then. If I remember correctly, it was like pretty much hit, I guess, what was it, the first week? I think the cards hit the format, and I'm looking at the Field Spell Brain Research Lab. I'm looking at Mind Master, looking at, you know, stuff like 1-for-1 that was almost immediately limited. While I feel this particular deck feels just the same as Frog FTK or OTK, you know, featuring Substitute, because it's basically the same thing. But on the other hand, I think Psychic OTK is a little bit weaker compared to Frog FTK or OTK, right? Featuring, you know, Mass Driver and the Synchro Engine. It's going to take on a more balanced deck, being Tengu Plants. Plant Synchro 2011. So there's only 2 years difference between both of these decks, and I could definitely agree with the people seeing that. I guess maybe the more recent deck, even though there's only like 2 years difference between both of them, should have the advantage. Looking at Tengu Plant, it's more versatile, obviously, and I feel that this Psychic deck, due to reasons, was never really a super competitive deck. Because again, the ban list was there, hitting a couple of cards, but it's still quite sick if it has access to all of its cards. And I overlooked this particular card, again, like a card from years ago. What is it? It's basically a soul charge. It reborns like up to as many spots, free spaces you have. What is it, level 2 or lower psychics from your graveyard. And this particular deck, 2009, is playing pre-errata Mind Master. You could tribute itself. I think post the errata, you're not able to tribute Mind Master itself or another Mind Master. So short set, the OTK, you're not really using your extra deck. It's there just in case. But the OTK is not that hard to pull off, especially if you have that soul charge. And of course, the field spell basically says that whenever you pay for a psychic type, or an extra normal summon for psychic, you can get or put a token or a counter on your field spell, and that makes it so that you won't have to pay for your psychic monster's effects, for example. But the problem with that is that as soon as your opponent is able to get rid of your field spell by banishing it, destroying it, or whatever, you will get burn damage equal to the amount of tokens or counters it has. So it could be like 6k burn damage if it has like 6 counters and your opponent is able to destroy it or remove it from the field as a whole. So that's again a big weakness of the deck. Plus, let's not forget Maxi and Failure. Failure is definitely a huge issue. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, 2009 we didn't have Failure. No, I don't think Failure was legal, or you know, was released back then for us TCG players / OCG. Yeah, I think it was around, what was it, like 2010-ish. Yeah, Tengu Plant Synchro, we got Failure, somewhere like that. So this was basically a goner. The thing with this deck, with Psychic, it kind of functions the same way as Frog FTK or Frog OTK, but the advantage that that deck has or had was Ronin Totem. The fact that, you know, it could reborn itself, it could make you or get you another body on field to be tributed by Substitute. Very similar here, but the problem is that you don't really have that recurrence from the graveyard at a consistent way. You know, you had swap, send Ronin Totem, and that basically was your infinite engine, figure of speech. But this deck doesn't have that, and that's where the deck could struggle. You need a couple of extra monsters on field. Sure, the field spell is there that could give you the beneficial normal summon. It's an extra normal summon basically, by, you know, giving you a counter, and they have their own soul charge. But this is what I was talking about. Your opponent having Chaos, for example, to get rid of the field spell. And I think it had, what was it, 6, 7 or 8 counters? So that's that many burn damage times 1000. So yeah, that's kind of big. And that's a loss. It is what it is. So again, go first. And my hand was kind of weak. I side-decked in Royal Decrees, obviously going first against you know, stuff like Warning, etc. But problem here I had was I eventually go all in because of a couple of... I already got Failured again. The deck is, what is it, running 2 Failures? Looking at Tengu Plant. It's just unfortunate. And on top of that, I was like, I need to mill my deck for a couple of cards, fuel my potential Soul Charge, which would have been the perfect top deck. Backed up by Stardust, you know, protecting my field spell. But because no Royal Decree, no Heavy Storm, no Giant Tornado in hand, I opted to commit to the field even though my board was was relatively weak, with the mindset of, because again I didn't open any spell and trap destruction. Look at the plant deck: Warning, Solemn, Bottomless. You're just losing to that. And you know, like Frog FTK, where you have that free infinite body being Ronin Totem, psyching like that. So next one, game number 4, I think, yeah, so go first again. So this is okay, yeah, definitely Royal Degree, destroying or, you know, blocking their entire back row. A Mystical Space Typhoon could have been an out, or a Book of Moon, or Econ maybe. But it's not there, so we go for Teleport, but I can't Maxeed. So we can go for the Maxeed challenge. And I get Veiler. We see now the Veiler was drawn, it's fine, so there's still one Veiler left in the deck. Problem is, I go for that huge Soul Charge, Magical Android 2400 Beatstick with Psychic Snail. Magical Android will be able to attack twice during the same battle phase, and I make a small mistake. So go for Snail, target Android, so now it can attack twice during the battle phase. And I go for, what is it, Destructagon, I believe the name is. It's the one that pay 1k, and then it's basically a Breaker, the Magical Warrior. It's not once per turn, but in hindsight, now that I look at it, it wasn't the best play, because if those were traps, both of them were always blocked by, imagine that being, well, no, I was about to say Scapegoat, but I mean, you had Reborn Tengu, so why would you set Scapegoat if you had it? I guess maybe Econ, yeah, destroying Econ, but the problem is your opponent is under Maxi, and Tengu Plant is playing Gorse, and Gorse is definitely out for this deck. So I'm not too familiar with the names. You have the two on the right that, what is it, banish up to 2 Psychic from the graveyard to give them a 500 attack boost. With Psychic Snail, they could potentially attack twice during the battle phase. You see how the OTK works, right? So game number 5. Again, both decks feel kinda similar at power level, but Tengu Plant has the advantage of back row and hand traps. Veilers to, you know, name one crucial hand trap. And my hand is kinda sweet. It's broken, not going to lie, if it had Mind Master, but sadly it doesn't. Otherwise I would have probably been able to go for game. Now we see Maxi again, but I mean, you still need to draw into Veiler, right? So Heavy Storm, get rid of what was a double Typhoon, so the Heavy Storm comes in clutch. But this is again one of those weaknesses, and when I was looking for builds for Psychic, you saw maybe like 1 terraforming, 2 terraforming, sometimes even 3 like this build. But the problem is breaking with the field spell, and as I've mentioned before, this deck you're not running, or you don't have access to a Substitute, right? Or a Ronin Totem-alike monster that recurs itself for free, basically giving you free bodies to tribute for Mind Master. That's not the case with this, so every card in your hand, especially in this situation, you want that card, like the second field spell for example, and the terraforming, there's another field spell, you want those to be monsters, to be tributed for Mind Master, and again, establish your board and potentially push for the OTK. But I mean, you can't have it all. It's at the same time, it's this deck's biggest strength, Mind Master. By the way, we see the Chain Disappearance, which probably would be GG instantly if it's used on Mind Master. You can, right? Yeah, 1000 or less attack. But it is sort of the Scrap Dragon. Yeah, Scrap Dragon goes all in, attacks for game. So I think short set. I think we have a deserved winner with Tengu Plants, 3 points, Psychics, 2 points. Personally, I feel this is a bit more than expected. I would see, you know, maybe, especially because of those hand traps, right? And the Solemns, those are superb, crucial against a deck like Psychics. Okay. Next matchup, left side Group E, we have Masterpiece.deck versus Adamantippators, and that's Buster Luck, by the way, which doesn't do that much against Zoo Masterpiece.deck, but I mean, maybe a little bit. Okay, so feel free to leave your predictions. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like. If you enjoyed the video, Riddim signing out. Peace.